Hey guys, if you like this content, I would greatly appreciate it if you guys liked the video and subscribed to my channel. It helps make these videos worth it going forward. What's up guys, Altcoins Sherpa here with a crypto market review. As always, this is not financial advice. I am not an expert, do your own research. Okay, so today let's just review Bitcoin and some altcoins. What are we looking at here? We are looking at a ranging overall price action market structure. And what I mean by that is that there's no clear direction on lower time frames. We have a low printed in January, a high printed in February, and this has been followed by a higher low, and then a lower high. So this is just really standard stuff. Really no clear direction with lower highs and higher lows. Usually this type of price action is just overall consolidation. So you might see something like this where price just chops around and consolidates, and then there's really no clear direction in both. And if you've seen my videos the last few weeks, you know that I'm just waiting for a break of one of two levels, either a break of 46K or a break of 34K. And what I mean by that is after you see one of those two levels get broken, then you have a clear trend on the daily from that point on. So if 34K gets broken, then at that point you have a lower high printed at 45K and then a lower low printed at below 34K. So what that would look like is maybe like, you know, you get some like shitty bounce and then it goes lower, or it just nukes straight through. You know, this would maybe be like if Putin started using nukes or something like that. I don't know, but overall, like, you know, if you get 34K gets taken out, then at that point you have a bearish market structure because you have lower highs and lower lows. And I do have a video on market structure too that you guys should check out on the educational area. Alternatively, if you see 46K get broken, then at that point you have higher highs and higher lows. You know, if like this comes down and then it breaks clearly above on the high time frame charts, then I think at that point you have higher lows, which are these lows set in late January and then late February, and then now you have higher highs. So if you see higher highs and higher lows, at that point you have a good argument for a bullish market structure. And at that point, I would personally target around 45K. I'm sorry, 50. The mid 50Ks I think would make a lot of sense to me personally. Prices chopped around for quite some time, and usually when you see kind of an explosive move outside of consolidation, then I think mid 50Ks would make a lot of sense to me personally. So, you know, we could go up like and start testing those levels. Now, if price does break to the upside, which I'm personally assuming that it does in the short term, I'm really waiting to see where the next low is printed. Because if you compare this type of price action, this is the consolidation event that we saw back in May, June, and July. Then at that point you want to see where the next move is and then where the low is printed. So for instance, this move went all the way up from 30K all the way up to 53K, and then it consolidated for a few weeks and printed a low down at 40K, and then it continued higher. So comparatively, if you know this kind of unwinds up and we get like 55K, at that point I'm really waiting to see where the lows are printed. If we chop around and have higher lows established, then I think that you are gunning for all-time highs at that point because you still have a clear bullish market structure. With that said, I think that with the macro, there's too many uncertainties that are going on right now that you can't really assume that that's going to happen. I think it's best to be cautious, and if you are underwater with a lot of your altcoins, I think it's best to just go ahead and de-risk as Bitcoin goes higher, because altcoins will still hit a 2 to 3x. You might not hit your exact entry if you bought the top, but you should still cut your losses if you're overexposed to altcoins. And that's what I'm currently planning on doing, is I will cut some of my altcoins and go to cash for some of them. Now, it's very important to also understand that if you do love a project and you do love this coin, just because you sell doesn't mean that you're necessarily abandoning your trade or your investment or your project. You can always compound your entry. So what I mean by that is you can always just sell your coin high, and then you can buy in lower and accumulate more coins with that same amount of money. That's a strategy I've used personally over the years with Ethereum, and you know, it's worked great for my own Ethereum stack. Now let's look at a few altcoins. I wanted to look at Solana, and I wanted to look at Near and also Atom. So let's take a look at Near. I think Near looks really good. And the reason why I think Near looks really good is because there's a high volume node right here through this range. And there's some deviations on both ends. If you look to see price deviating from this range, from this 12 to 13 or $14 area, and alternatively you have a deviation from this 950 to kind of the 750 area. And price has been chopping around overall in this area for quite some time. You can see that the point of control is right around 1110 or so. And price is really traded in that area for quite some time, really since late January. It's been a few months, and now I personally think that a move up is coming. Personally, I think that like 13s would be an interesting area, like the low 13s. You know, it's not a huge gain from where we're at relatively. I mean, it's like a 10% move or whatever, 12% move. But ultimately, I wouldn't be surprised if this actually hits even higher targets, like 16. And the reason is that price has chopped around for quite some time. So, you know, I think that something like 16 would be a pretty solid target, in my opinion, for this move. So, yeah, I'm still bullish on Near. I think it looks good. And it still has like one of those relatively unpumped layer 1 type of narratives. Solana looks good as well, in my opinion. Before, you know, I went back and forth with regards to my ideas for Solana, and like if this was a macro bottom or not. Like Solana could still certainly go lower to like the $50 or something like that, but I personally think this is a bottom, kind of a bottom pattern forming. But it's really important to know that this hasn't really broken market structure at all yet. It's still lower highs and lower lows. You know, we haven't seen any big moves up yet. If price does break above this kind of 105 area, then you could maybe make an argument for price hitting higher highs. But until that time, you know, we're still just hitting lower highs and lower lows. Now, you could also make the argument that $75 was a low, and we recently closed above it at 78, and now this is a higher low. I could see that argument. And we are seeing this. We will see this 200 EMA kind of have confluence right around this 120 area, 115, 120 area, which should be pretty strong resistance on the first tap, in my opinion, just because of the amount of time that price has taken in between each level. But overall, I still think that Solana looks pretty decent. I mean, it has chopped around for a few months now, and personally, if this does escape the range, then I would view kind of like the mid 100s as like a target. So 140 to 150 would be kind of an area of interest, in my opinion. So to me, it would make sense that this kind of like comes up and then comes back down. But again, if you want to be very safe, then you could probably wait until like maybe 100 or 107 before buying to assume that this kind of hit a higher high on lower time frame charts. But to me, it looks pretty decent. Let's go to Atom. This is a messy chart. What the hell is going on here? I'm just going to clean it all up. Atom isn't really doing anything, but the overall fundamentals on this project are still very insanely, they're still great. Very high volume node, right? Trending around the 200 EMA on the daily. And I think that price is just chopping around right here. It looks like it's forming a potential bottom, and price is really consolidated for the similar amount of time as the other coins. But because it had such a strong run recently, I don't know how good the upside is. And it might be better for you to contextualize and just think about this overall chart in a large range, a large trading range. It might be easier to just assume that, you know, price is trading within this kind of trading range here. There's deviations on both sides, and And yeah, maybe this is like a good kind of way to think about it. It's just like in this large range, and price is not going to really you know, go super strong in either direction. Now there are some smaller levels, of course, like this $25 level. The EQ of the range right around 33. But overall, I think that price is just going to really chop around and consolidate for a while. The top of the range is an area of interest, you know, in terms of resistance. So maybe price comes back up to 33 and then breaks above it, and then we hit 44 and then we pull back. That's certainly a possibility, but I think that Atom is really just going to chop around for a little bit. I think that the overall fundamentals on this project are still great, and we'll see some of these narratives play out in 2022. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for the support.